What's up guys, this is Mac Controller here, and today we're doing a review of the Spider-Man 2 video game. Note that this is in my opinion, just in case there's something that you guys disagree with, that is totally fine. This is just how I personally felt about this game, and I don't want to try and impose my opinion on you guys. The footage was captured off of the normal PS5, and I feel like this game is just okay. I don't really feel like it's anything super special, but it's pretty good. Some of the things are good, some of the things are bad, and some things are just kind of meh. The game has a lot of good things about it. The story for this game is amazing to a certain degree. I feel like there are certain aspects of how the story is written, especially with how a lot of the Miles sections of the story felt very bland and boring, and I honestly was pretty much ready to go back to playing as Peter as soon as I could, because nothing felt very good about it. Like, it wasn't super interesting. It was pretty boring. I do like how the story does the character development for Peter and MJ, like their relationship and how it's looking throughout the thing, especially with how they're trying to support each other as a couple, especially after Peter lost Aunt May. And I feel like Miles' character development is cool, but I feel like it's just more or less repeating what we saw in the Miles Morales game, where his whole thing was he was trying to become his own man, hence why he got the black and red costume, because he was no longer in Peter's shadow. He didn't look like a cheap copy. He was his own version of Spider-Man. So I feel like doing it again was kind of pointless and wasted a lot of time that could have been done doing literally 1,000 other things with Miles. And I love the way Harry is brought into the game. I love how he's written. And I love the way how he ends up becoming the villain even after everything feels like he shouldn't. And it makes you feel very sympathetic for Harry. Which, spoiler, if you guys haven't played this game, Harry Osborn is Venom in this game. So, yeah. Spoilers. And I do definitely think that the graphics look fantastic in this game. I haven't seen too many games where the graphics look like so phenomenal, especially on this game, because when you look to this in comparison to the original Spider-Man from Insomniac, it really felt like it was better. Now, there's things that I feel are kind of meh about this game. I personally feel the tech and power system of this game adds like an extra layer to the game's combat that really could have been done without. Like, it's definitely cool to have that type of stuff, but I feel like it was definitely not the best way to do it, and it could have been introduced a lot better. Like, the symbiote powers are where a lot of my issues kind of lie with the powers and tech, because literally, so when you are Peter in the symbiote suit, you have a bunch of powers, and the game tries to force you to be in the symbiote suit for a good portion of it. And then once he becomes anti-Venom after everything happens with Mr. Negative, it just feels like they copy and pasted his powers. That way, they could still say you had access to symbiote powers after beating the game. And I personally feel like Miles in this game feels almost like a sidekick almost. Like, he feels like to Spider-Man what Robin is to Batman almost. And almost in the way of like the first Robin, Dick Grayson, where he is a sidekick, but he's trying to become his own man out of the shadows of his mentor. And I just feel like it's cool, but to be brutally honest, at first I wasn't a big fan of Miles, just because I felt like it was a way for them to attempt to replace Peter, and then when they did end up replacing Peter, it worked out pretty alright. And Miles has been written pretty great in both games and film, so I definitely think he's a great character. I just feel like he's not handled the best way he theoretically could have been in this game. A few things about it. The biggest issues for me are based off of the costumes. The costume picks for the game feel very generic. Like, some of them are just costumes I don't ever think that someone would pick for a Spider-Man game. Like, I don't, some of them I just don't know where they went with it. And then, like, with a good chunk of the suits being from the MCU. Like, we get almost every single MCU suit that was in the remaster of 2018 Spider-Man in this game yet again. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the MCU suits. I feel like they don't look quite as good as like an original suit could, or a suit that's adapted from the comics. And like, outside of the MCU suits, a lot of the other Peter related suits are identical suits that we saw previously that are just boring, with the small handful of the new costumes being costumes that don't look very good or don't look very Spider-Man-esque. Like, I definitely feel like they could have done better if they were going to make original costumes versus what they did in this game. Another thing I feel the game really suffers from is the lack of any story-based DLC, which kind of sucks for this game because it hinted in a lot of the side quests that you play, it hints at there being story-based DLC. Like, we're hinted at potentially getting a Carnage DLC, but we didn't get to see that. Maybe we'll see Carnage in Spider-Man 3, assuming it ever comes out. But we never will know. Outside of that, I feel like there's a lot of other story arcs they could have done. And I think it could have been cool to see a lot of different DLCs. Like, it would have been cool to kind of see what Black Cat's been up to, or even just see what Yuri's up to after the events of the Flame side quest. It would be definitely pretty cool to see how that all is going. But I don't really... I feel like the game could have benefited more from any form of story-based DLC. Maybe we could have got a few of the villains from the old first game come back, like maybe Blockbuster or something, or not Blockbuster, but Tombstone. Like, we could have got like Tombstone in, which would have been pretty cool. We could have got, like, literally there's a multitude of Spider-Man villains that we haven't seen that would have been pretty cool to have seen. Like, I think a good story-based DLC potentially could have been one where there was a villain called the Hobgoblin, which would have been really cool because basically it would have just hinted at and led into Spider-Man 3's main story having Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin, which I feel like is the route they're going to go for in the Insomniac titles. And honestly, another thing that's kind of bad about it is the collectibles. I feel like the collectibles in this game are kind of boring and something I don't ever really feel like collecting. Like, even in some of this footage, there's definitely collectibles I'm still collecting to this point, just because they just really weren't that enticing, nor did they really give an award, like something that makes it feel like it was worth going through the trouble of collecting all the DLC and all the collectible stuff. But aside from all the bad things about it, this game really is pretty good. I do feel like a lot of these side activities, like the crime and process stuff, is pretty generic and gets boring over time, but that's not really a problem with the game, more as that's just a problem with how literally the actual like crime and progress missions in superhero video games are. They're typically pretty boring over time. They're not meant to really keep you entertained, but the game is pretty good and something that I have enjoyed playing. I definitely can't wait to see what Insomniac does with the third Spider-Man title. I'm hoping they do some more original costumes, improve their writing a little bit, because I feel like the writing just kind of takes a little bit of a backseat outside of the symbiote arc stuff for this story. Like, I feel like the symbiote arc was taking over this game's story almost entirely, to the point that you could barely tell that this game had Miles in it. But with that, if y'all enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out, squad.